And with that, welcome inside this week opening edition of Big Ten Today. Rick Pizzo, always thrilled to be joined by Michael Huff. Yes, we called before the show to make sure we were, in fact, wearing the matching Big Ten Network outfits. It was a great weekend in the world of Big Ten baseball, Mike, and I think there were a few teams that clearly said to the rest of the league and anybody maybe on the NCAA selection committee watching, we are worthy.
Definitely so. It was so exciting. Now, there's only going to be 2 weekends left, and for some teams, there's only one series. So they only have 3 games to set themselves up. But there were some great in-state battles in Indiana. There was some really good sweeps going on, and there was some great competition throughout the weekend.
So let's take a look at the Big Ten baseball standings. This is your big story for today's show. Illinois is atop the league, but by just 1 game over 3 teams in a virtual second-place tie. Nebraska has the tiebreaker over Indiana and Purdue, but all 3 of those teams right now are at 12-6. You see, Iowa is tied with Illinois in the win column, but as Mike pointed out, there are 2 teams, Iowa and Maryland, that have already played 21 conference games. They only have 1 weekend of conference play left. Everybody else has 2, and you want to be above that blue line before the end of the regular season because only those 8 teams will play in the 2024 Big Ten baseball tournament. We start with 2 teams who we know will be there, and you referenced the in-state battle in the state of Indiana as the Hoosiers take 2 of 3 from the Boilermakers. Purdue had come in on a double-digit conference win streak. This was a monster weekend for Indiana.
It was. And for Purdue, they are on the precipice of setting records, which they did. Only took 1 out of 3, but that one was the first one. So it got them 11 Big Ten wins in a row, setting a new program record. But then Indiana found ways, not necessarily to slow death by 1,000 cuts. They were able to come through with a big inning in the second game, a big one in the third game on Saturday and on Sunday. And those were the things that propelled them to being able to take 2 out of 3. And from an Indiana club that was preseason number 2, I felt that was pretty good with the bats that they had. It took some really big moments, a lot of clutch 2-out hits on Saturday and Sunday to get them those 2 victories.
And I know that 2 out of 3 probably doesn't put them in the strata where the RPI is high enough to guarantee an at-large bid. But if they have a couple of good weekends and make a run maybe to the championship game at the tournament, they may not have to win it all and get the auto bid. And that was the case just a couple of weeks ago.
Very much so. And of those last 2 weekends, one of them is going to be against Nebraska, who is the most recent Big Ten team to be nationally ranked. And then you're going to end your season against Michigan, who also is above that blue line right now. So you have a chance if you can take 2 out of 3. If for some reason they can sweep one of those 2 teams, they are putting themselves out of the 60s RPIs into that 50s, maybe even 40s, where now you can think, I don't have all the pressure to have to win the Big Ten tournament. I can just play well in it, and I still have a chance to.
Illinois holds on to the lead atop the standings by taking 2 out of 3 from a really dangerous Ohio State team. And we saw it on Saturday, Mike. If an opposing pitching staff makes a mistake to anyone in this Illinois lineup, 1 through 9, that mistake very often ends up over the fence.
And this was what Illinois has been doing throughout the course of the year. They have 88 home runs as a team. That's almost 25 more than the second best team, which is Indiana at 64. So this is a club that if you make that mistake, you're going to lose it. Guys get to jog around the bases easy. And they were almost unbeatable at home until Ohio State came in and found a way to win game 1. So, again, tip your cap to Bill Masiello and these young Ohio State Buckeyes. They came in knowing the type of facility they were going to, the team they were playing, and they found a way to win that first one. Unfortunately, Saturday, Sunday, the bats came back out for Illinois, and they propelled themselves into that top spot by winning those 2.
It's still a solid year so far for Ohio State, though the Buckeyes have now lost their last 3 Big Ten series, kind of returning to the mean of what we thought this team could be at the start of the year because they exceeded expectations in the non-conference and certainly in the beginning of Big Ten play. Now, Nebraska is 1 game back. They take 2 out of 3 from Minnesota. I know against a struggling Gopher team, you probably want to sweep, but it is on the road, so at least you get a road weekend series win. And this pitching staff for Nebraska, you're under 5 right now. Obviously, that's not great in the majors, but in college ball and in this league, that's really good, especially if you can combine it with some timely hitting.
Which is what they have been able to do all year. Right now, this was a ball club. Again, preseason top 6 was felt about right. I kind of looked at them as a middle of the pack, especially when you think about those middle infield combinations with Matthews and Anderson leaving. But they have found a way to come through with some clutch hits. They have found a way to have a very challenging non-conference schedule leading into the Big Ten season. And that has propelled them into being able to win these tight ball clubs. You have a pitcher in Brett Sears, who probably wasn't really thought about as your Friday starter, that has been just lights out all year and been able to give you at least 5 innings on every Friday and giving your team a chance to win. But like you said, this was a ball club that just fell out of the national rankings. So you're thinking, I want to sweep because this is a Minnesota club that really isn't in the bracket right now in the tournament. But this is still at Minnesota. It's still John Anderson's last year. And these are still Big Ten players like Brady Council. And again, Tucker Novotny did a great job on Sunday just pitching his heart out.
Yeah, no doubt Gophers are proud, don't want to lose at all, especially in Coach Anderson's final year. Been there for a long time. Been there when you were playing.
He was there when I was playing, which shows you how long he's been there.
Just an absolutely amazing story. Nebraska in the RPI right now. I would think, Mike, that unless something really goes south over the next couple of weeks, Huskers should feel really good about their chances to get the at-large if they don't get the auto.
Yeah, they're sitting at 21 right now, which has to make them feel good. Again, Will Bolt doing a great job of getting this ball club ready. But they have been able to do it hitting, they've been able to do it pitching, and they have played solid defense. So having that non-conference, winning, losing a couple against some nationally ranked teams, but being 21 right now in the RPI, I'm thinking they feel very good.
Iowa does exactly what Iowa needed to do against Northwestern this weekend. Brody Brecht does what he does, which is bringing it at about 100 miles an hour multiple times, even into the 6th and 7th. It's the second Big Ten sweep of the year for the Hawkeyes. The good news is they're now up to 13 conference wins. Trouble is, as I mentioned when we looked at those standings, they only have one more conference series left on the schedule.
Well, and they put themselves in a challenging position by losing the games that they did before they got to the Big Ten. So sitting right now at 28-18, this was a ball club that I thought at this point might have 35 wins on the year with the pitching staff that they had, and all 3 of the big arms struggled early in the year. What's really nice is that these guys have to find their rhythm, because this is a club that does have to win the Big Ten tournament to be able to play in the NCAAs. And Brody Brecht, who was arguably that first-round talent, still is, could have been a top 10, top 5 when the season began. The last 3 starts, only 2 or 3 walks, 11, 12, 13 strikeouts, 7 1/3, 8 innings pitched. And that's what I think Rick Heller was expecting from all 3, not just from Brody. But right now, if Brody can find that, if Obermueller and Morgan can also find their rhythm, this is a team that nobody is going to want to face. And as you said, they only have 3 games left, but they're 5 games over 500 right now in the Big Ten, 13-8. So even if they lose those 3, you're over 500. They just need to get in, which they are.
How about those 3 starts that you mentioned? Brecht, .79 ERA in those last 3 starts, and he's made it look really easy. That's why a lot of folks believe he is a big-time Major League prospect with the velocity that he can bring it.
Yeah, and still talking to the scouts, he's still a first-rounder, where early on I think everyone was thinking this might be a top 5 person. He is now showing why he is still on everyone's radar for the first round, but it's been smooth. It's been pounding the strike zone and then challenging the hitters to have to chase that wipeout slider, which they have been doing a lot.
One of the other in-state rivalry matchups this past weekend, Michigan State. It goes the way of the Spartans. Michigan State has now won 4 of its last 5 as they try to feel a little bit more comfortable about their future and being part of this year's Big Ten tournament. Michigan, meanwhile, that's the first Big Ten series, I believe, that Michigan has actually lost. After a tough start to the year, they were making a great run through the Big Ten, kind of came to a halt in East Lansing.
Well, but to your point, Rick, it came to a halt because Michigan State took 2 out of 3 from Ohio State the weekend before. They are winning series. And Jake Boss, this is a young ball club. We're going to talk a little bit about one of their players who I think is kind of one of these really important guys that has to play well, and he is, Jack Frank. But Jake Boss has these guys believing that if they keep playing their type of baseball, scrapping, playing hard, 9 innings, solid defense, they're going to put a lot of pressure on other teams to force other teams to play a solid game, which, again, these are still college kids. And there can be a bad inning here or there. We just talked about Purdue, who unfortunately was so close to potentially winning all 3 games at Indiana, if not for a lot of 2-out hits on Saturday, a lot of 2-out hits on Sunday in those big innings by the Hoosiers. But Michigan State has to be feeling good. They're in the 7th slot right now. Again, 2 weekends left, but they keep playing the way they are. They know they're going to be playing in the tournament.
Maryland, Rutgers, the other Big Ten series from this past weekend. Terps have now won 5 of their last 6. Rutgers has lost 8 of its last 9. So the Scarlet Knights are on the verge. They're very close, I believe, 1 game away from being eliminated from a spot in the Big Ten tournament. Maryland, though, continues to sit right on the precipice. Yep. They have been on that cut line now for quite a while. They had to take at least 2 this past week, and they got that done. But there is still a lot of work for this team to do to make sure they're playing in the Big Ten tournament.
They are the only other team right now, as we've talked about, that is RPI-wise looking pretty decent. They're 40 going into last weekend. So they took 2 out of 3 from a Rutgers team who is 3rd in the Big Ten RPI at 54. On the road, this is a ball club that is 31-18. This is a club that everyone picked 3rd, and I kind of agreed with that preseason. This was a lineup that had a lot of bats. This was a lineup that had some good arms. And for some reason, they just have found a hiccup once the Big Ten season began, as is evident by going into Northwestern and letting the Wildcats take 2 out of 3 from them. If you could have taken that weekend out and give them 2 out of 3, if not sweeping, they'd be sitting in that 7-6 spot, probably feeling pretty confident with just 3 games left in the Big Ten season for them.
Though it was a little bit of separation for them this weekend, because with Ohio State losing 2 out of 3 and Maryland winning 2 out of 3, now it's more than a game separating 8 and 9. Obviously, 6 conference games left to play for both those teams, so still a ton to be decided. Mike is back in a bit, but first, we check on all your softball storylines coming up next. Sammy Netling helping us break down the bracket with the first pitch of the 2024 Big Ten tournament set to be thrown on Wednesday. Big Ten softball tournament starts on Wednesday. Remember, a single elimination tournament makes this one so exciting. You see the first round matchups on the left side of your screen. Top 4 seeds, Northwestern, Michigan, Rutgers, and Nebraska get first round byes. They will open their respective tournaments coming up on Thursday. For more on the bracket, we send it to Justine Fernandez and softball analyst Sammy Netling.
Thank you, Rick, here alongside Sammy to talk through some of the teams that we are going to see in the Big Ten tournament. We have to start with Northwestern. Back-to-back regular season titles. They're the 1 seed. Is Northwestern the most complete team in the Big Ten in your eyes?
I think they are, just because they've had so much success consistently, and that has been the biggest question mark I've felt like for some of the other programs throughout the regular season. We've seen streaks of brilliance and then some questionable losses, and the Wildcats are the one team that I have truly felt, no matter the product that they put on the field, when they don't play their best, they somehow find a way to still secure a victory. And you know, it helps when you have arguably the best arm in the conference in Ashley Miller. I know she struggled a little bit with some command. We had not seen that throughout the regular season, so I think for some people there may be a question mark there, but I do think she is going to execute and propel this team to be a contender for the tournament week as well.
Got the pitching, they've got the hitting. Perhaps the hottest team in the Big Ten. They didn't end the regular season on a high note, but you look at what Michigan did this season. 14-game win streak, their longest win streak in 5 years. How impressive and dangerous is this Michigan team?
Yeah, you talk about a Wolverine program that was hungry to get this program back on track, right? It was a disappointing 2023 campaign, and they even started out 2024, and stumbled a little bit, specifically offensively. We know they're always going to be tough in the circle, but offensively, after that Northwestern series where they got swept, they really turned a corner and have depended heavily on their freshmen in the lineup. Costales, Conway, Stevenson, Valamont, they have really lifted this team to be a more balanced approach. You know, they can hit for contact, they can hit for power, and they've even shown resilience throughout that winning streak to have a ton of comeback, extra inning, walk-off wins. And so, you know, you said it, they had a disappointing end to the regular season, but I certainly think this is a team that is a very dangerous, complete, balanced in all three facets of the game for the tournament.
And those losses, they could learn a lot. They could also light a fire underneath a very powerful Michigan team. Let's talk about Rutgers. They have the 3 seed. What do you like about this Rutgers team?
I just love that this Rutgers team has really almost come out of nowhere, right? After, you know, they've just continued to chip away at building this program under Coach Butler. They've always been strong offensively, and this year in particular, they've really strengthened their pitching approach. I think Boyd and Smith have been incredible for Rutgers down the stretch and have really elevated them to be a tournament contender, right? That was something that we were not saying last year or for the past, you know, decade, truly, at least since they've become a Big Ten team. And so I'm really excited to see this team specifically in a single elimination tournament style bracket this week, just because they truly have that 1-2 punch in the circle and they have a ton of pop, a ton of power in their bats offensively.
And they just swept the doubleheader on Saturday for the end of the regular season. Nebraska, now they have been struggling mightily, 4-6 in their last 10. Do you see them rebounding come the Big Ten tournament?
I just can't get over how this team has continued to battle despite the adversity that they've continued to face throughout the season, right? 6 season-ending injuries to starters, right? And 2 of which in the circle, they have just continued to battle and battle and battle and put themselves in an opportunity to win ball games. And I think, you know, they're coming off of a weekend where they took the series from Minnesota. That's a big-time win to go into Minneapolis and do that. And they have arguably one of the best bats in the conference in Jess Oakland. I think this is an offense that can be streaky at times, right? But hitting is contagious, and when they get going, the lineup, you know, they feed off of one another, and so I think they can certainly be dangerous if they can get on a run here come tournament time.
And let's talk Minnesota, the 5 seed, and Jess Oakland for a second. You look at that matchup, and it is all Jess Oakland and big shiny lights. Am I right?
Yeah, I think if you're Illinois, you have to figure out, you know, how do we work around her, right? How do we force someone else to beat us in the box? You know, this is a Gopher team that swept the Illini to earlier in the regular season. And so I think, you know, the Gophers feel very confident going into this matchup. They know their offense is their bread and butter. And for them, it's all about just shoring up the other 2 facets of the game. If they can play clean D and they can execute in the circle, get leadoff outs, you know, limit the extra base hits. You know, this Illini offense has some pop, but I do think this is a matchup that favors the Gophers to kick off the tournament.
And last but not least, the Hoosiers, they split the series with Northwestern to end the regular season. They're the 8 seed, but they certainly play bigger than an 8 seed. Would you say, Sammy?
Yeah, I think, you know, in terms of just on paper potential, this Hoosier team is the most stacked in the entire conference. And this season they have struggled because they have had personnel issues in the circle, right? They had 2 arms that you know are no longer you know, competing in the circle for them, and they have, you know, Kleiman, who potentially suffered an injury this past weekend. We don't know what her diagnosis is going to be, if she can go come tournament time. And so then that leads all of the workload pretty much to Brianna Copeland. And it is so tough to win a single elimination tournament with a single arm. But this is an offense that is as potent as it comes throughout the conference. And I definitely think you cannot count out the Hoosiers.
And we know the regular season went down to the final day, Rick. So we're expecting this tournament, as Sammy just said, a single elimination, being just as exciting. We can't wait, just a couple days away. All of it kicks off here on Wednesday on the Big Ten Network. For Sammy, I'm Justine. Rick, we'll send it back to you.
That is correct. You can catch the entire 2024 Big Ten softball tournament presented by DirecTV from first pitch through the championship game, only right here on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. For the 3rd time in 4 seasons, Northwestern backs up its regular season women's lacrosse championship with a tourney title. But this one was truly unique. Head coach Kelly Amonte Hiller joins us next to explain why. For the fourth time in the past 5 years, Northwestern is your Big Ten women's lacrosse tournament champion. This title game had everything. Phenomenal start by Penn State, a massive run to take control by the Cats, who got 5 goals from Tourney MVP Izzy Skane, and a lightning delay with just 96 seconds left that forced the finish inside Ryan Fieldhouse for a championship celebration unlike any we've ever seen before. Our big stat presented by Gatorade lets you know that with the win, Northwestern once again earns the league's automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. Cats are the #1 overall seed inside a bracket that includes 4 other Big Ten teams: Maryland, Penn State, Johns Hopkins, and Michigan, all a part of this year's NCAA field. And let's go to where that championship game was contested, Evanston, where we find Northwestern head coach Kelly Amonte. Kelly, let's start at the end. How bizarre was it to finish that game inside after starting it outside on the Martin Stadium turf?
It was crazy. You know, I just feel grateful that we have such an amazing facility to move inside to, and our facility staff did a great job of turning that around so quickly so that we could finish, because there was really no end in sight for the poor weather. So it was great to be able to go inside there. Some of the fans that stuck around were able to see the finish, and it was just an awesome opportunity for us. An amazing day, an incredible crowd, and just really grateful to be able to host.
Kelly, how did the decision come about? What sort of conversations were there between the coaching staffs, the staff, whether the Big Ten itself had to be involved?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was only 90 seconds left, or 96 seconds left in the game. So I know Missy was really in favor of moving it inside. And then, you know, I think it was just a matter of, could the facility staff get everything in there that we needed to make it happen. So we were fortunate enough to do it and finish the job in our beautiful indoor facility, Ryan Fieldhouse.
So what did you do during the delay with just 96 seconds left to play, but not knowing exactly how long it was going to take for you to actually start playing again?
I think our girls were just really excited. Obviously, we're only 96 seconds away from winning a championship, and you know, we had 4 goals there on them. So I think our team was pretty excited, pretty amped up. We tried to get our focus going as we heard that we would move indoors, but you know, it's just kind of a wait and see game in those moments, and you just have to be patient and be ready when you step into that moment.
We just saw a clip of you and the team realizing that the game was going to be delayed with such little time left on the clock. And the clip of the iPad, I believe it was, going for a little bit of a ride. Did the iPad survive?
I think so. I hope so. I haven't really checked in on the iPad yet, but yeah, I was a little frustrated that there was only 96 seconds, but you know, you have to go with what the situation is and just kind of move forward, and that's what we did, and we were just grateful that we were able to turn it around and head inside.
All right, let's get to the game itself, and we go back to the beginning. Penn State jumps in front quickly. It's 4-1 after 1. What did they do to put you on your heels early in the game?
You know, honestly, Penn State is a really, really good team. I'm very excited about heading into the postseason and, you know, having 5 teams in the Big Ten in the tournament. I think all 5 teams are very, very strong and could compete with anyone in the country. Penn State, you know, they started the season off slow, but they have really come on as of late with 2 huge wins against us in the regular season in Maryland. And I think they can compete with anyone. They just came out with great energy and really attacked us. And, you know, I was really proud of our girls to stay level. And, you know, we made some adjustments and we were able to gain some momentum through just simple individual plays. And you know, once we gained that momentum, we really ran with it. So I was really proud of the team for that patience and poise.
How fun was it for you as a coach to watch that momentum and that run as you score 11 of the 12 goals that were tallied in the second and third quarters?
It was awesome. You know, I think that our team really, they responded to the things that we were saying. They just kept it simple, and they really attacked the moment. So I think they were determined. We were fueled by an amazing, historic home crowd. It was standing room only, and so you can't ask for much more than that.
Was there any fuel for payback or revenge, for lack of a better term, since Penn State was your only Big Ten regular season loss?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were excited about that matchup and to be able to rectify the loss. And, I think overall, though, usually the focus is on us, and, we really try to play our best and just be our best version of ourselves.
I know you've enjoyed this feeling before. Did it feel any different doing it inside than it did in previous years doing it outside?
Yeah, I mean, I think just stopping the game with 96 seconds left, it definitely took a little steam out of things. But to have the ability to, go inside and still celebrate with, our closest fans and friends and family, it was a great moment. It definitely felt a little different, but you have to roll with the punches. You never know what's going to happen on a day-to-day basis, and we have to be resilient and just stay steady.
And so the team gets to hoist the tournament trophy. Izzy Skane named the tournament MVP. She had 5 in the championship game. How hard is it to comprehend a career that has now included 358 goals scored? She's just one away from becoming the all-time leading goal scorer in the history of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, we don't want to comprehend that right now. That's for a future time. I think Izzy's focus is really just enjoying, every moment that she gets out on this lacrosse field. She's done so much for our program. And, now it's not about records. It's not about that type of stuff. It's just about playing as hard as you can for your teammates and for this program, and just leaving it all on the field. That's what she has done up until this point. So why would that change now?
And now you move on to the NCAAs. As I mentioned, you're the top overall seed, which means you receive a first-round bye. The good news is a little bit of extra rest. I guess the bad news for you and your staff, it means a little bit more scouting, because you don't know whether you'll play Denver or Stanford until after they finish on Friday. When do you make the move, the transition from celebrating the tournament championship to scouting for the NCAAs?
Oh, immediately. We have to put all of our effort. We know both Denver and Stanford are great teams. We played Denver in the regular season, and we actually scrimmaged Stanford, and we know they're very well coached. We have a little bit of a rivalry going with Denver. We've played them last year in the Final Four, and then this year in the regular season. And then Stanford is coached by a Northwestern alumnus, Danielle Spencer. So we have great, respect and coordination with her as well. So we're very excited. We're going to move forward immediately and, just get to work. If you sleep on anyone, that's something you're going to regret. And our goal is to extend our season one more week, and we get that opportunity to put it all on the line Sunday and try to do that.
All right, finally, Kelly, I know before the tournament we had a chance to talk, and you told me how excited you were and the players were to be able to play the Big Ten tournament at home. You get to continue the NCAA tournament. First couple of rounds you'll play at your home stadium, where you have won 43 consecutive games. How exciting is it for the program? You've mentioned the fans, for the players who may be going through their last postseason, to know they have a couple of games left on that turf.
I mean, it's huge. Our fans and just the following that we have, it's really incredible. I'm very excited about the opportunity Sunday. I'm excited about next year, where we build a bigger stadium to see if we can pack the house there. And so, it's just an amazing opportunity. I think it's something that we cherish, and the fans fuel us. The environment is truly second to none on the lake. Beautiful weather, and we can't complain about anything. We really truly have. We're blessed to have these fans, to have this location, and to represent the school that we do.
All right, 2 of 3 check marks already there. Big Ten regular season title, Big Ten tournament title, and now looking for another NCAA national championship. Kelly, we always appreciate the time. Best of luck.
Thank you. Go Cats.
And just a few hours after the Wildcat women finished off their back-to-back tourney runs, the Michigan men did the same. Catch up with Wolverines senior forward Justin Wietfeldt when Big Ten Today returns. For the second consecutive season, the Michigan Wolverines turned their number 4 tournament seed into a championship storyline as the Wolverines destroyed Penn State 16-4 Saturday night. Michael Bain was the tournament MVP. Ryan Cohen set a tournament end program record with 7 assists, and Justin Wietfeldt was phenomenal at the dot as the Maize and Blue once again earned a trip to the NCAAs. And now Michigan will open its NCAA tournament on the road this Saturday when the Wolverines travel to face Denver. 3 other Big Ten teams also keep their national championship hopes alive as Johns Hopkins, Maryland, and tournament runner-up Penn State all earned at-large bids. And one of the men who starred in that game, Justin Wietfeldt, joins us now, Michigan senior forward and face-off specialist. Justin, first and foremost, congratulations. What's it feel like to be not just Big Ten champs this year, but to go back-to-back, especially in your last 2 years?
I mean, for me, it was extremely special, especially, being here my freshman, sophomore year. We definitely struggled in the Big Ten, so it was really, really cool and really exciting to see how, towards the end of my year, in my junior and senior years, that we were able to kind of go back-to-back and finish that off, in my last year.
We were waiting for the game to start. I know you guys are waiting for the game to start about 30 minutes maybe before the original scheduled start. A lightning delay. Everybody has to clear the field. You end up being delayed by about an hour. How long did that wait actually feel to you guys?
Yeah, that's to me it kind of felt pretty short. For me, I just wanted to stay, calm and collected, not worry about the things that I couldn't control, like the weather or the delays or what was going on. So I think for me, I just put some music on, just sat, stretched out a little bit more and just kind of stayed calm and collected and just trusted myself that I was prepared and ready to go whenever the game was going to start.
Yet it didn't take long for any pent-up energy that anyone had to be expelled as you score 6 seconds into the game. Your assist to Michael Bain. What kind of tone did that set for you guys, especially on the offensive end?
I think for us, it was just confidence. And right there, scoring within 6 seconds just gave us all the confidence in the world that, we were really going to take this thing. Because I think one thing Coach was kind of alluding to throughout the entire week is that, we had no tomorrow. We have to win the Big Ten to kind of make it to the NCAA tournament. So I think right there just kind of put the stamp on it that, we're here and we're ready to win and take this and keep our season going.
It's 5-1 after one. It's 9-3 at the half. How did you guys continue to kind of own all levels of the field, especially in that first 30 minutes before everybody went into the half?
I think our belief was there from the beginning. And, one thing we've been saying all week is just refuse to lose. And having that refuse to lose mindset, throughout the entire game, because obviously there's going to be ups and downs. But I think just having composure, trusting the process, trusting what, our coaches were giving us throughout the entire week. And like I said, that refuse to lose mindset on top just kind of encapsulated all of it and just kind of kept us going throughout the entire game.
Now, after a first half start like that, sometimes you see teams with a little bit of a third quarter layoff. They take their foot off the gas. Instead, you guys start the second half with a 7-0 run. It caps a 10-0 run between the end of the second and the beginning of the third quarters. What was the halftime conversation about amongst you guys having that big lead?
Yeah, I think, one thing Coach says is just, he asks us what the score is, and we'll say 0-0, right? Because even though we're up, even though, we've been playing really well in the first half, the game's not over yet. There's still so much game left. We got to keep going with the momentum we have, and the way we've been playing was phenomenal. But, if we take dips, Penn State was a really good team, and they definitely could have came back. So I think just staying strong throughout the entire game and keeping that mindset that, we're really the underdog, and we got to keep pushing no matter what, even if we're up, I think really kept us going throughout the third and fourth quarter and kind of just capped off the game for us.
With 16 goals on the board, you understand why the offense gets most of the attention, but you hold Penn State scoreless for more than 35 minutes, and a high-octane offense scores just 4 goals. How do you best describe the effort defensively and inside the cage?
I think for us, it just shows how close our team is, and especially our defense, the chemistry we have and just how close each guy is with each other and how much they trust each other to kind of do their job on the defensive end just really shows, how far we've come as a team. I think even from an offensive standpoint, just having some O-mids play defense too, and just trusting those guys that they're going to do their jobs, we're going to stick to the game plan, really showed out and showed why, our defense really put a stand out there.
How nice was it to watch the final minutes tick down, knowing there was really no worry about the outcome?
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, it didn't really come true for me until I, saw those fireworks going up in the air, and it just really hit me that, we really went back to back in my junior and senior year. So to me, it was just so special, and I was just at a loss for words just seeing that happen, and it was just a dream come true for me.
You were 19 of 24 at the dot in that game. I know this could probably be a really long answer, but what's the short answer to what's the main thing that a face-off guy has to do to be really good at that specific skill?
For me, it's just trust and confidence. Facing off is such a relying on your mindset because, it's in that split second, you got to react to the whistle and you either get the ball or you don't. So I think for me, it's just trusting myself, trusting what I've been doing, throughout that week of practice and trusting our coaches and our wings that, we're going to get the ball and then just letting it all out once I get out there. So I think just really staying calm and trusting myself was a key part in why I think I played pretty well out there.
Yeah, you also picked up 14 ground balls and put you over 300 in your Michigan career. Only one other Wolverine in history has ever done that before. How important is that aspect of your skill set to the way you play from an overall perspective?
I think it's really important. And I think one thing our faceoff coach, Coach Tourney, always tells us is, the faceoff's not won once you get that ground ball, right? You got to get the ball into the offense, and that's truly where, the value of the faceoff comes. Because there's times where, I'll win the faceoff or I'll turn over right away. And even though it's a faceoff win, it doesn't really help our team because the other team's getting the possession. So I think really controlling that ground ball and getting that to the offense is really important. So I think that's where we kind of put a heightened emphasis on getting those ground balls, even if we lose the faceoff or even if it becomes like a 3v3 scrum with the wings. I think those ground balls are really important to kind of helping our team, giving our offense momentum by giving them more possessions.
I know you were an outstanding multi-sport athlete in high school. As a matter of fact, you were team captain, you were all-conference, second-team all-state hockey player in New Canaan, Connecticut. When did you realize that the future, college and maybe beyond, was lacrosse and not hockey, and when did you have to make that call?
Yeah, I think I made that call beginning of high school, I want to say. More so just because I love playing hockey, but for me, since I was a kid, lacrosse has just been a dream for me. Playing collegiate lacrosse was just a dream for me. My uncle won a national championship at Cornell, and my cousin played in the Final Four at Cornell too. And just like seeing him play in Foxborough was just such an amazing experience. It's one of those memories I'll have for the rest of my life. And I think seeing him play and just really getting in that, college lacrosse environment was just something I've always wanted since then. And I think that was kind of what drove me to kind of go down the lacrosse path and just play college lacrosse and just kind of fulfill that dream that I had.
All right, finally, Justin, let's take you off the field and into the classroom. You're part of the Ross Business School. You're an academic, all Big Ten performer. I checked out your LinkedIn. I know you've done internships at financial institutions in years past. So what's next for you after you put the stick up in your time in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, I'm going to be working for KeyBank in New York City as an analyst in their technology investment banking group. And I'm really excited for that. It was great. I interned there last summer, and it was a really awesome experience. There's a lot of Michigan alums there too, and they really kind of come together and really help each other out. And it's fun seeing those guys. And, they congratulated me last year on our Big Ten championship, which is really cool to see that, they were following and they care. And I'm just excited to be in a really cool environment with a bunch of cool people to work with.
All right, getting set to move into the business world, but first trying to cash in on a national championship. Michigan's run toward that goal begins this week as the Wolverines take on Denver in the NCAA tournament. Hey, Justin, we really, really appreciate the time. Congrats again on those back-to-back championships and an outstanding performance, and we wish you the best of luck both on and off the field in your future.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Get you back to baseball next. Mike Huff returning with his picks to click, which players need to have monster weekends for their respective teams to make late-season surges. Welcome back to Big Ten Today. Maryland's Eddie Hakopian with the big two-run double, helping lift the Terps to a 4-3 victory over Rutgers this past weekend as Maryland goes to Piscataway and takes 2 out of 3 from the Scarlet Knights. Welcome back inside our Big Ten Today studios. Rick Pizzo alongside Michael Huff. And Hakopian's a pretty important player for this Maryland Terrapin team over the next couple of weekends as the Terps do try to solidify a spot inside the top 8 and be a part of this year's Big Ten tournament.
Yeah, sitting at number 8 right now, this is a team that I believe will have the best chance to get there and probably the most dangerous team of the 5 that are vying for those last 2 spots. But Eddie has just done everything right. Matt Swope, his first year this year at Maryland, a great stepping in, no problem, 31-18. But this guy is your first baseman, still leading off. Why? Because this junior understands working a count, understands the fact that if I can take some pitches, let the guys behind me see a few more, work that starting pitcher, try to get him out in 5, not let him go 6 or 7, is still first on the team in batting average. 5th in the Big Ten right now at 379. He's first in runs scored, first in hits, second in RBIs. But again, 34 walks to just 23 strikeouts. So this is that guy, kind of a little bit of a glue guy, I like to say, that he can set the table and kind of let the Maryland Terps just relax and win series.
And the Terps, again, have already played 21 conference games. So if they get 2 more conference wins, and that's 12 on the year, that would lock them in because nobody else behind them could get to 12. So they would be at least the 8th seed. And I know you think they're a team that if they get in, they could do some damage.
Yeah, the bats are the thing that can do it for them. Their arms are starting to come around, but if they can have some more confidence on the mound, but scoring early, scoring middle, scoring late, they have guys that can score in so many different ways. This is that club. Also, when you think about Maryland, has gone to the NCAA tournament the last 3 years. This is a club that knows how to win and knows how to get to that next level.
Michigan State has figured out how to win as we get late into the Big Ten season. Spartans have won 4 of 5 as they hand Michigan its first Big Ten series loss this season this past weekend. And Jack Frank has been and will continue to be a huge key for Jake Boss's team.
Yeah, I got to check a few notes here. They lost Brock Vradenberg, hit 400, 3rd round in Miami. Trent Farquhar, Mitch Jebb, 2nd rounder with Pittsburgh. Brian Brecker, 13th round in Tampa Bay. They lost 4 guys, and he was the one that stayed around. He's that right fielder senior, hitting at the top of the order. Yes, doing great batting average, leading the team in runs, hits, also leading the team in RBIs and home runs and stolen bases. So this is that guy that has been that consistent player right now for Jake Boss, and this is that guy that you can see this young club, when I just mentioned 4 guys that all are playing professionally at the end of last year, has been that one player that's helped all these young kids see this is how we win, and he's the one that has to just stay hot for 2 more weekends.
Well, and you know from personal experience, if you get on base and you're a guy who can wreak havoc on the base paths, it throws off opposing pitchers in a big way.
It's a lot of fun when you can get that pitcher throwing over 3 or 4 times and you know your number 2 hitter, number 3 hitters are just saying thank you. Because I know when it finally comes in, it's going to be flat. It's going to probably be up in the zone because pitcher wants to give his catcher a chance to throw me out. I'm not running this time. What happens? It's a gap or it's a home run.
Ohio State's going to have some work to do over the next couple of weeks to get there. They're 2 behind Maryland in the win column in that race for the 8th spot. Henry Kazmar, obviously a guy who's going to have to be a big part of it if the Buckeyes turn things around.
Well, and again, like Michigan State, Bill Masiello with a very young club up there right now. This guy at short, Henry Kazmar, is leading the team, runs scored, hits, 2nd in home runs. But he is that guy playing up the middle, young sophomore that has been able to get them and keep them in so many series this year, keep them right now in 10th spot, chance to get into that top. But if he has 2 more good weekends, again, he helps the young kids kind of follow his lead. There's a chance that these guys could surprise some people and sneak into that number 8 spot.
Ohio State has lost 3 consecutive Big Ten series. Got to get that figured out before you get back into conference play this coming week because the Buckeyes have some ground to make up. Not quite as much as Penn State. Penn State's even a game further back in the standings. JT Marr and the Nittany Lions need to have a huge finish to their season to keep playing after the regular season comes to a close.
Well, and I think about Mike Gambino, the new coach out there coming from Boston College. And what has he done? He's gone out into the transfer portal and said, I need a couple veteran players. I've talked about Adam Cecere, who is tied for 3rd in home runs, but really JT Marr. This was a great pickup because here's your catcher that can work with the pitching staff who's been around, has some talent in those arms, but can control a pitching staff, comes in with that veteran presence, and is hitting, a cool .412 right now, second in the Big Ten. So you combine the fact that here is a guy that is coming in, new coach, trying to change the culture a little bit. He has allowed them to have a chance. Now, granted, it's a little bit further on the outside, but they still have a chance to get into that Big Ten tournament. And I think if he has a couple more good weekends, we might see them in there.
And one of just a couple of guys inside the Big Ten hitting over 400 this year. Brady Council has kind of been the, if you will, heartbeat of a Minnesota team that has struggled throughout the course of the season, but there's still a chance. If the Gophers win 5 of their next 6, maybe, they have a legitimate chance to get in to the Big Ten tournament, but they have to finish strong.
Yeah, and Minnesota, they're going to play against Michigan State, so this will be a very defining upcoming weekend, but they end at Northwestern. And John Anderson, you think about his great career up there north, and the fact that Brady Council, we all know his dad, Craig Council, doing pretty good for the Cubs right now, tied for first place. But Brady has been that consistent player for John Anderson. He has been the guy that, again, is leading them in home runs right now as a second baseman. The junior has done everything right. But Minnesota, even though right now they're sitting tied for 11th, they're going to play a team in front of them, Michigan State, who's sitting at 7, and then end the season against Northwestern, who, as you said, if they can take 5 out of 6, they're giving themselves a chance. It's not in their hands, but they're giving themselves a chance.
And we don't root for teams, but you would love to see Coach Anderson get one more crack at the Big Ten tournament before he hangs up the cleats in the Twin Cities. For Michael Huff, I'm Rick Pizzo. That'll do it for this edition of Big Ten Today. See you again on Tuesday.